says do. You got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you got to do. Oh Lord, you got to do when the Spirit says do. 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 You got to sing when the Spirit says sing.
These acorns remind us that we meet here on Nisenan land, that the history of this land and its people continues to shape this community, that we support the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe in efforts to stabilize their people and restore tribal sovereignty through federal recognition, and that our own deepest well-being is bound to the tribe's well-being.
Thank you, Jim. Happy Labor Day weekend. Every year I think it'll be a light Sunday, and it never is. It never is. Toby's not here today because his grandmother Joan died, so that's why Toby's not at the piano this morning. And there's someone who's parked right up really close to the stop sign on Wall Street here in a gold Camry. It's a little too close for safety and etc. So if you've got a gold Camry and it's somebody in the room, that would be helpful. actually to move that car. So this Labor Day weekend, we do celebrate your life labors, whatever they have been, whatever they continue to be, whatever they will yet be. As you may know, Labor Day celebrates the achievements of workers in the United States, the social as well as the economic achievements of workers, especially those less privileged, less seen, less typically supported. A Labor Day was celebrated by individual cities as early as 1882, here in New York City. Within 12 years, 34 states had declared Labor Days. And in 1894, 130 years ago, Congress made Labor Day a federal holiday. I did not realize Labor Day had been around so long. No wonder so many people schedule vacations on this weekend, even though the day has the meaning of the day has really faded in terms of what's celebrated, right? People take it as a weekend to go travel and visit, but less focused on the labor. While celebrating the beauty and the value of all people's work and celebrating the rights of workers to join forces for the benefit of all, those are important values that match our own UU values. But today, here at the beginning of this month, at the beginning of our community year, we're going to bring our focus close in. And instead of vacation, look to our personal sense of vocation, or more accurately today, to our sense of what is calling to us these days, of what's calling to us right now in our lives. Our Unitarian Universalist chalice represents at heart, this flaming chalice, a vision for what the world can be, right? At its biggest level, that's what it's always symbolizing. Then to prepare for the lighting this morning, I'm going to invite us to do some imagining together this Labor Day weekend. If we have not met yet, I'm the Reverend Kevin Tarsa. I'm privileged to serve this congregation, one of the pieces of my vocation these days. But let me start with a question for everybody. No matter what your age, what did you want to be when you grew up? Or what do you want to be if and when you grow up? Is the question for many of us. So I invite you, especially if you've been around a while, to think back. What were some of those early things you wanted to be? I'll invite folks online to type into the chat because Eileen will read some of these. So Gail, what was it for you?
I wanted to go to Annapolis and become an admiral, but they didn't let women in Annapolis then.
Aha. Joanne.
I wanted to be a cowboy, darn it.
A cowboy, darn it. Mary wanted to be one too. Linda.
I wanted to be the President of the United States, and we still don't have a woman that has been President of the United States.
Started way back when. Sandra.
I wanted to be a ballet dancer, but I was a little short.
Who else? What did you want to be?
I wanted to be a nurse until I was a candy striper and came home and said, sick people are so grouchy.
Gail.
I wanted to be a Presbyterian minister, but they didn't allow women.
Lori.
I wanted to be just like my father when I grew up.
Just like your father. If you're young, you might be thinking about what you want to be down the road.
Sports writer.
Sports writer. I saw a hand over here.
I wanted to be an airline hostess until I found out I have motion sickness.
I wanted to be a firefighter like my dad, but they didn't have any women on the fire department.
I wanted to be a go-go dancer. I didn't know that meant a stripper.
Wow.
Oh, God.
I wanted to be a Buffalo Bills cheerleader for the Buffalo Bills football player, but I was too short and I didn't have blonde hair.
I wanted to be a musician.
And Michael is.
I wanted to be an elf or a fairy.
And?
I wanted to be a Ninja Turtle.
A Ninja Turtle, excellent. Thank you for telling me. Excellent, excellent.
I wanted to be a writer.
A writer, and so Jenny is.
An architect until my dad said you have to be good at math.
There's some themes here of thwarted desires.
I want to be a stunt man.
A stunt man.
I wanted to be a wildlife biologist and get very familiar with otters.
A wildlife biologist and get very familiar with otters. And Eileen, what have folks on Zoom been typing in?
I wanted to be a veterinarian until I realized I'd have to look through microscopes. Oceanographer, but my dad said you had to be good at math. Oh well. That's another problem with math. Lady wrestler. I always wanted to be an artist from the time I was 3 years old. I want to be a teacher, and I was.
Thank you, and of course many more. Here's how May Sarton began one of her poems. Now I become myself. It's taken time, many years and places. Now I become myself. In acknowledgement and celebration of all the selves we have thought we might become or imagined we might become, and the selves we are even now becoming, we light our chalice. And we send that light with our youngest ones dreaming of being things, including Ninja Turtles, to carry this light and to remember that we are connected all the way through. And we sing. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. So now that you know a little bit more about some people, I'm going to invite us to liberate our cell phones for the hour by turning them completely off if we can, at least silent. And then by turning to the people around us to welcome who's near us, working especially to make sure that everyone's greeted, in particular the folks you don't know yet. And perhaps you'll be inclined to share something of what you wanted to be when you grew up while you're saying hello. I invite you to welcome each other.
Good morning. I think Kevin did a really good job of revving everybody up this morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist community of the mountains in the middle of this holiday weekend. I'm Cheryl Morris, your worship associate this morning. September is an interesting month. For my retired teacher friends, it seems to feel like a new beginning, the start of a new year. To me, it feels like the end of the year is rushing toward us. Maybe all of us feel we are on the cusp of a change of seasons. Here at UUCM, September means the beginning of our 9-month Soul Matters program. For our newcomers, Soul Matters provides resources based on a monthly theme. The theme is usually a spiritual value or practice, and there are materials for worship, small adult circles, religious education for children, music, and so on. Each resource is very rich within itself, and when used together, the congregation can explore each theme in depth across all our programs. Our September theme is Living Love Through the Practice of Invitation. We often speak of the themes in shorthand for obvious reasons, as in the theme this month is invitation. But I think something is lost when we do that. Love is at the center of our shared values, but what is the practice of invitation anyway? It suggests repetition and custom, possibly a level of skill desired or maintained. So what or who are we inviting, and to what? What invitations can we offer ourselves and each other? Can we learn to invite in all parts of our lives with curiosity, even the parts we would rather not have? And can we do this regularly, make a practice of it? Today's invitation is, what's calling you? And there will be a new invitation each Sunday this month. We'll be exploring them together. Welcome.
Thank you. I loved hearing people's early on hopes. And it was really striking how many, particularly women today, had a vision and a dream that was not allowed at some level, was not available. I'm curious what it was like, whether you shared it out loud with the whole group or just as you were talking to someone, what it felt like to share those early visions. Was it on a, let's do our scale of, did it feel really good? Did it feel like, ooh, that reminded me of, or something in between? Yeah, some sideways, lots of thumbs ups. Okay, thank you. Years ago, a friend of mine wanted to pursue a career as an actor. And as he spoke to people in the profession, oh, yeah, not yet, Bob. As he spoke to people in the acting profession, a mentor told him, if you can see yourself doing anything else, I mean absolutely anything else, please do that instead. The mentor was trying to convey the challenges and uncertainties of an acting career, of course, but the mentor continued, if you truly cannot imagine yourself doing anything else, then go for it. I remembered my friend's story of receiving that advice when I read Parker Palmer's definition of vocation, a word that comes from the Latin word for voice or to call. Ministers often, though not always, speak in terms of having felt a call to ministry, for example. At its deepest level, Palmer says, vocation is this. This is something I can't not do. This is something I can't not do for reasons I'm unable to explain to anyone else and don't fully understand myself, but reasons that are nonetheless compelling. Something I can't not do for reasons I'm unable to explain to anyone else and don't fully understand myself, but reasons that are nonetheless compelling. So rather than inviting us to reflect today on our jobs or careers, although that could be the calling that you have in heart and mind today, that you're thoughtful about. Today, I'd like to open us up to the invitation to listen for, to notice, to recognize, or maybe just to acknowledge, because it's been tugging at you, what seems to be calling you now? What seems to be calling us now? At this point in our lives, again, tugging, maybe very quietly and far back in the hidden corners of our heart and mind, but still insistently. Something calling to us, perhaps for reasons we cannot explain to anyone else and don't fully understand, but that feel somehow deeply true, right, maybe even frighteningly compelling, if we let ourselves admit it, acknowledge it, hear it, listen to it. And I'm not talking about discovering purpose, though purpose and vocation could overlap. I'm of a mind and heart to agree with the folks who say that purpose is something that we recognize when we look back at the living of our life and see the shape it has taken day by day and year by year. That's when we know and notice our purpose, not so much something we choose in advance. Struggling to find a purpose can, in fact, get in our way. I'm talking about noticing what calls to us without exerting any coercion on us. Something that calls without coerciveness, or something that doesn't claim to be the one true path for us. The things that we can't not do, but not because someone or someone else is insisting on them, because perhaps in a way we don't understand, they're so compelling in their own right, compelling such that something in us says, oh, yes, before it even asks us if it's okay. The thing is, as Palmer points out, vocation does not come from our willfulness, from our effort, our list making and our map making and our carefully layered decisions about what's most prudent or valuable or wise or productive or best. No, he says, those could be our responses to a call, but vocation itself does not come from willfulness. It comes, he says, from listening. Not from our effort, but from listening. So in our time together today, our lifting up of what has worth, which is the definition of worship, the meaning of worship, to lift up what we have deemed worthy of doing so. In our time together today, I offer an invitation to listen for what's calling to us. Beneath all our busyness and activity and concerns and the bustle and expectations of the world, what's calling, tugging? It's separate from any shoulds or oughts that pester us, any things about how we should be or are supposed to be, even our own ideas about such things. This is about listening for what's calling us regardless, when we let ourselves release all the noise and get still enough for a moment to hear what's running underneath it all. So as we prepare to listen, I invite us to deepen and extend our breathing by singing, which is what singing does naturally for us. This is one of the great values of singing together. It deepens and elongates our breathing and starts to actually synchronize our breathing. At the same time, it's allowing those vibrations that come via our vocal cords to vibrate our chest and the rest of our body. And so to help, for many of us, calm us, soothe us, help us center and become more still and grounded in the moment. Unless someone told you have a terrible voice and shouldn't sing, and then maybe this is triggering. But I'll remind you that we have a no-fault singing policy that the congregation has purchased, and if you are singing a note that someone next to you was not expecting, that is not your problem. So there are some potential shoulds and oughts that could be heard in the lyrics of this song, but I invite you to let them go if you can, and to listen beneath it all for the invitation to notice what is either waking you these days or waking in you these days. I invite you to rise in body and spirit and to sing, "Wake Now, My Senses." I invite you to let your body find its most comfortable and stable position in this moment. Recognizing that not every part may be comfortable, that may not be totally possible, but as comfortable as can be, stable as can be. To let your shoulders settle, ease back down. To let your hands just take up their natural curl, maybe in your lap, or relax gently on your legs. Whatever feels right to you. To notice what it feels like where your body meets the chair or the floor, where your body meets the air. I invite you to let the muscles around your eyes take a break for a bit. Just relax. Let your cheekbones rest, nothing to do. And your jaw muscles to slacken. The muscles around your neck soften. Just enough to hold your head up, but no more. I invite you to notice what you hear. What you smell. What you taste. Where your thoughts just wandered. I invite you to notice the sensations you feel in the center of your chest, all around your heart. Is it warm there? Cold? Hard, dense? Soft? Tender? Tingling? Tight? At ease? I invite you to notice what it feels like simply to breathe. Simply to breathe. From this place, I invite you to listen for what's been calling to you lately, maybe right now. I invite you to take whatever pops up and just notice it, no matter how random, how obscure, how strange. A memory, a feeling, a thought, an image. As we're going, whatever pops up, just notice it. It might have something to say to you. What's been calling to you lately? Tugging at you in a way that feels a bit scary and true. What's been moving at the edges of your mind and heart that feels more right than you've dared to imagine? You're reluctant to trust for fear it might not hold, but oh, there it is. In those moments when all the defenses are down and you don't feel a need to armor up, and maybe you're alone, and maybe you're walking in nature, or maybe you're swimming in the Yuba, what is it that's come up that said, oh, this, maybe this. I invite you to listen with a lot of compassion and not a lot of expectation. Beneath all the flowing busyness of the world and the busy surface of your days, beneath everyone else's expectations and answers for you, beneath maybe what you've ever even thought about, really, what's calling to you? Have you caught a glimpse, a fragment, a flash, a sliver, a wave? Is there anything that's popping up unsolicited? Images, memories that seem like they have nothing to do with anything, and yet there they are, showing up just for you for some reason. Is there something that seems like it's been trying to get your attention? Again and again, trying to get your attention and your response. Maybe something you've been ignoring, hoping it might lose interest in you or fade away to no avail. What's the small seed already in you that's wanting to get started, that wants to grow, that wants to bear fruit, that you can tell wants to unfold, whether it's easy or convenient for you or not? What in you is waiting, hoping you will notice it and listen to it, at least hear it out, maybe even allow it and follow it? Or maybe you listen to deeper sounds outside of yourself. Martha Postlethwaite's wisdom might support you. Martha says, do not try to save the whole world or do anything grandiose. Instead, create a clearing in the dense forest of your life and wait there patiently until the song that is your life falls into your own cupped hands and you recognize and greet it. Do not try to do anything grandiose. Instead, create a clearing in the dense forest of your life and wait there patiently until the song that is your life falls into your own cupped hands and you recognize and greet it. Only then will you know how to give yourself to this world. So did anything come up for you? Recently? Now? Maybe today? Anything you're willing to name that came up for you?
That was very powerful. I realized that for quite a while I've been in conversation intensely with people I love in the world and people gone through photographs, through stories. And I was disturbing a little bit to connect, but really good.
What came up for you? This is more intimate and tender than our childhood expectations of our careers, but if you're open to sharing.
Yeah, I realized ever since I was in college that I have wanted to be a leader in the fight against white racism. And I will never be a leader, but I continue to have that vision and to guide me.
Family, healing family.
Instead of being 74, I'd like to be 24, 34, 44, 54, and 64, and do them differently.
Facilitating healing circles of various types.
I'll invite folks on Zoom to type in, and we'll invite Eileen to share again. Anyone else?
About 10 days ago, I accepted a position I did not seek as a political writer for the weekly Downeyville Mountain Messenger. And I sit here this morning and I see clearly that somehow this is a way to support neighborliness, which is what rises up out of me and wants space.
Couple more? Anyone willing? Is that thinking about it? I'll come back.
Karaoke and dancing, that's what's calling me.
Karaoke and dancing. Paxton, do you want to say something?
Recently, I think Lego sets have been calling me.
Lego sets, those great tools for creativity. Oh my goodness, yes. Eileen, is anyone online typed anything in?
Yeah, art and music feeding and spreading into communication, harmony, connection, animals and trees and people. I think that's it.
So here's a beginning of the community year. It's not really the beginning, but we have this academic rhythm, right? Which things sort of pick up in September. Here is an invitation at the beginning of the year to create enough of a clearing in the dense forests of our lives to wait there patiently until the song that is our life falls into our own cupped hands and we recognize and greet it. It's not a quick process. Here's a seed planting invitation for certainly this month ahead, but this year ahead. If you've recognized or sensed a thread, a seed, a flash, a glimmer of something calling to you, possibly a glimmer you weren't wanting to receive, here's encouragement to follow that thread. Just get curious about that thread beyond this moment, beyond this morning. And for some of us, actually moving through space will help us do that, right? Being walking, or hiking, swimming, moving in the world. If something calling to you has made itself known to you today or lately, here's encouragement to entertain its invitation enough and in your own ways, and with the support of trusted others, to find out more. Perhaps your next vocation, your next calling. So may it be. So we've moved from the exuberance of when the Spirit says do to the quiet of introspective time today. We'll move that forward a little bit with this tangible ritual of placing stones in the bowl of water to mark what's in our hearts. And if you're online, you invite you to type into the chat some of what you hold, or to type a 0 or an O as an anonymous kind of stone in the water. I invite you to come up multiple people at a time around the table to remind yourself that you're not alone. And I invite us to hold each other as we do this, as we start to move our bodies and move into what's next, as we acknowledge what and who is in our hearts. I invite you forward. To close this very inside time, I invite you into a time of focus, of intention, of attention, of prayer, of meditation. If you've been listening for God to speak to you, for the voice of Spirit to catch your ear and your heart, for the wordless divine to utter a sound, mysterious and unmistakable, that will meet you, soothe you, rock you, give you courage, enlighten you, reassure you, let you know that all is as it needs to be. May you hear beyond hearing what your soul most needs to hear. If you've been listening for what your heart knows when your mind is finally out of the house for a moment and not brain-splaining everything, if you've been listening for your inner wisdom, your intuition, the still small voice inside you, listening for what your gut is perhaps clumsily or maybe with laser clarity trying to say to you, rarely consulted exactly because it cannot help but tell you the truth. May you hear in the spaces between words what your heart most needs to receive. If you've been mystified by other people's apparent ability to enter silence as if something's actually happening there, anxious to do something, be engaged, be productive, at the very least to move your body, anything rather than sit still and be asked to be quiet, may you find your own motion and aliveness threaded through with flashes of just the insight and awareness your life needs to guide your next decision. If you've been asking yourself what a call even means in a universe that is not conscious, separate from each conscious being, or asking yourself why it matters in a world that is not purposeful, nor planned, nor directional, except what happens to happen based on the laws of physics and chance and human fallibility and the subatomic alchemy we may never understand, May you catch unexpected glimpses of exactly the truths that will shed enough light on your path forward. If you are here now, together in spirit with fellow travelers, hoping, wanting, suffering maybe, ready, curious, perturbed, listening, open, breathing, breathing, breathing. May you know yourself grounded, whole, held, seen, known, heard, open. So may it be for each of us.
While our theme this month is the practice of invitation, another value we practice each week is generosity. So here we go. This is the time that you are invited to give generously to support the work of our church and of a community partner that shares our values. This month, 50% of your offerings will be shared with Nevada County Habitat for Humanity. Founded in Georgia in 1976, Habitat now works around the world. And here in Nevada County, they have built 45 homes. This means housing over 160 people, of which 100 are children. They bring people together to build homes, communities, and hope. Their vision is a community where everyone has a safe, decent, affordable place to live. And speaking of invitations, Reverend Kevin was just invited to give the blessing at their most recent ceremony, in which keys to a newly completed home were turned over to a mother and her 3 children. I was unable to attend, but I understand that tears were shed, and it was a joyous and meaningful celebration. As we pass the baskets, the slide will tell you additional ways to give. And we also invite you to visit the Habitat for Humanity website. Thank you for your generous gifts. We dedicate these gifts to accepting the invitation to do our part in creating a community in which everyone has shelter, safety, dignity, and hope. Thank you.
Cheryl, you always just do such a beautiful job as worship associate. Thank you. So thoughtful and present. And Linda Siska, on the fifth Sundays, often does the setting up front and brought in birch leaves today for that touch of green. Thank you, Linda. Linda's up with our young ones too today, doing multiple things. Thanks to Jim for reading very much, to Eileen, as always, online, to our greeters who do that so beautifully, Lori and Gwen today, for all those who brought refreshments, including Nancy and Katz and Barbara and Susan, who are also setting up. And Cheryl is with Linda in our Kids Connection. Cypress, you're welcome. You're welcome. The dual role. Cypress, thank you as always. Your steady presence is so helpful. And Bob and Claire Miller are moving to Colorado. Yes, we're happy for them, sad for us. So Bob and Claire, I want to offer special gratitude, and I hope people will accost them afterwards and share your own gratitude. Bob has been so responsible for many things around the life of the congregation. Bob has served on stewardship and justice quite a bit, but so much of our electronic happening that got so fast forwarded during COVID, we got to places thanks to Bob, to his expertise, generosity, and Claire has served on membership and nominating committee and got our string group started that plays on the first, third, and fifth Fridays right now. We get together and make music. Thanks for starting that. I'm sure you have done many other things, Claire, before my time. We will miss both of you very much. Thank you for all the ways you have fed this community, and we'll do our best to breathe and then figure out what needs to be done in the spaces that are left when you go. So special thank you to Bob and Claire today. Again, please see them. Just a few announcements. The office is closed tomorrow, Labor Day, yay, Siobhan gets a day off. Humanism discussion this week. There's a Parkinson's support group on Thursday. Singing meditation on this Thursday evening. If you're, especially if you're a person who's looking for some respite from everything in the world, come sing. It's really quite powerful on the singing meditation. And two special invitations. UU 101 today is an introduction to a little bit more about what's this whole UU thing. Feel free to join us in the library about noon after the service here, after getting some refreshments. And a couple upcoming things that are helpful to know. Next Sunday is Bring Your Grandkids to Church Day. If you've been thinking about that or know somebody who might benefit from that kind of invitation, please extend it. And then the following Sunday is a special Kids Connection open house where we're inviting you to consider who are the families with children that you know and say, oh, this might be the community that would really serve them where they're at right now. Because what we'd ask you to do is actually extend the invitation to them. Hey, come that Sunday. There'll be a chance to have the service and then also then have an open house and see exactly what happens so beautifully with our young people upstairs. As always, there's lots of stuff on the website. These days, it's the go-to, right, for lots of information. Go exploring. Is it a go? So on the debate night, there'll be a watch party here to watch the presidential debate. If you want to watch in good company. Opening at 4:30. The debate's at 6. So that's coming up for those of you who might benefit from being together for such a thing. It's Tuesday the 10th, and it's a potluck. So again, watch our communication things for more information. So with the idea of what's flowing in you these days, I invite us to sing, whether it's flowing in your heart, your mind, and or your soul. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and to sing.
It's
In a moment, we'll offer a community benediction, it's called. And a benediction means good words. Benediction, right? So good words or words well spoken. In this tradition, we think of ministry as shared. Like the work that we do is shared. Yes, there's a ministry, but we all are a part of it. So with the idea of shared ministry in mind, here are the words of Susan Manker-Seal. Much of ministry is a benediction, a speaking well of each other and the world, a speaking well of what we value: honesty, love, forgiveness, trust, a speaking well of our efforts, a speaking well of our dreams. This is how we celebrate life, through speaking well of it, living the benediction, and becoming as a word well spoken. May we carry our good words into the world and share this benediction to remind ourselves that we are in this together. Together, let us carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again. We carry that light, even though Cheryl's extinguishing it now. Please join us for refreshments, conversations, UU 101, new or old folks, and we'll see you next Sunday for Home is Where the Heart Is. Bring your grandkids.